So the short story writer should be mindful of the language. Language is important. The language should be the language of literature. And we write literature by using literary tropes, figures of speech, metaphors, simile. Your language should also be accessible. You should be able to understand your story, your short story. Your short story should have a specified setting and should not be set in too many different places because you cannot account for all those spaces. The short story should have a specified setting. It can't be set in too many different places. Have a particular setting. You should also decide on your point of view. Is it going to be first person point of view, second person point of view, or third person point of view? To decide which point of view to use when writing the short story. Decide the point of view you want to use in writing the short story. Is it the first person point of view? Is it the first person narrative point of view? Is it the second person narrative point of view? Or is it the third person narrative point of view? You can choose one that is suitable for your story. Eventually we'll talk about these techniques in detail. But for now, know that when you're writing the short story, you need to choose a suitable point of view. The novella is spelled Novella. Some people also use the novelette instead of the novella. Novelette is spelled Novelle. Novelette. So the term novella can be used interchangeably with novelette. But the novella is longer than the novelette. All of them mean small novel, little novel. The novella is slightly longer than the novelette. A novella is usually between 17,500 words and 40,000 words. A novella usually has a minimum of 17,500 words and a maximum of 40,000 words. Minimum of 17,500 words and a maximum of 40,000 words. The novelette usually has a minimum of 7,500 words. The novelette usually has a minimum of 7,500 words. That is, the novelette begins where the short story ends. The novelette begins where the short story ends. The novelette usually begins where the short story ends. And And the maximum words for the novelette is 17,500 words. The novelette usually begins where the short story ends. That's what I said. And ends where the novella begins at 17,500 words. So to put it in simple terms, the novella has between 17,500 words and 40,000 words. The novelette has between 7,500 words and 17,500 words. Okay. So Don't Marry Angelica is an example of a novella. And we are going to study one short story on the course, and that is The Cask of Amontillado by Edgar Allan Poe. So you write it down, The Cask of Amontillado by Edgar Allan Poe. All right, let's just move on and talk about the novel. Let's just talk about the novel. Let us define the novel. Let us define the novel as an extended narrative or prose fiction that tells a human story. Let us define the novel as an extended narrative or prose fiction that tells a human story. The novel is an extended narrative or prose fiction that tells a human story. Did you write that down? Please note that the novel is the lengthiest of all fiction. The novel is the lengthiest of all fiction. When you mention the short story, the novella, the novelette, and then the novel is the lengthiest. The lengthiest, the longest, the largest. So if they ask you in exam, which of these is the lengthiest prose fiction? A, novel. B, novella. C, novelette. D, short story. You choose the novel, right? According to E.M. Forster, a major critic of the novel, according to E.M. Forster, a major critic of the novel should not be less than 50,000 words. The novel should not be less than 50,000 words. According to E.M. Forster, a major critic of the novel should not be less than 50,000 words. This was at the initial stage of the novel. So the novel is voluminous. The novel is known for its length. So even now, people are even saying that the novel should not be less than 100,000 words, 80 to 100,000 words. But E.M. Forster pegged it at 50,000 words minimum. So if you are writing prose fiction, the word count is important. If you're writing prose fiction, the word count is important. For instance, if you're asked to write a short story, you should know that your story should have the length of between 1,000 to 7,500 words. If you go beyond that, then you are in the realm of novelists. So take note of all these things. If they ask you to write a flash fiction, know that it has to be less than 1,000 words. If it is more than 1,000 words, then you are in the realm of short story. And so if you write anything less than 50,000 words, then you have not written a novel. For E.M. Forster, the novel should be from 50,000 words onward. So we use word count generally to determine the genre of the prose fiction. That's what you need to understand. So the modern novel began in the 18th century. The modern novel began in the 18th century. The modern novel began in the 18th century with the publication of Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe. With the publication of Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe. Robinson Crusoe, Daniel Defoe, published Robinson Crusoe in 1719. In 1719, considered to be the first modern novel. So before Robinson Crusoe and Daniel Defoe, we had the sentimental novels in the previous century. We had the sentimental novels in the previous century. We even had some novelistic narratives in the Renaissance. That is the 16th century. We even had some novelistic narratives in the Renaissance in the 16th century. But the first modern novel, what we consider the novel today, began with Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe in 1719. We want to look at types of the novel. Types of the novel. The novel has types. And so you need to, as a creative writer, you need to know the types of the novel so that you know which one you want to write. So you want to write a novel, then ask you what type of novel do you want to write. So you need to be able to identify that. So the types of the novel types are the picaresque novel, P-I-C-A-R-E-S-Q-U-E, picaresque novel, the picaresque novel, P-I-C-A-R-E-S-Q-U-E, the picaresque novel. Then you also have the epistolary novel, epistolary novel. That is spelled E-P-I-S-T-O-L-A-R-Y. T-O-L-L-R-Y, epistolary novel. E-P-I-S-T-O-L-L-R-Y, epistolary novel. E-P-I-S-T-O-L-L-R-Y, epistolary novel. They also have the historical novel. The historical novel. The historical novel. Then we also have, you don't call it the historical novel, you call it the realistic novel. Or the realistic novel. The realistic novel. If you don't call it historical novel, you call it realistic novel. Then we also have the sentimental novel. We also have the sentimental novel. The sentimental novel. The sentimental novel. Then we have the Gothic novel. The Gothic novel. Gothic novel. G-O-T-H-I-C. Gothic novel. The Gothic novel. Then you have romance novel. Romance novel. Romance novel. Romance, R-O-M-A-N-C-E, romance novel. Then you have the novel of manners. The novel of manners. The novel of manners. The novel of manners. Manners, like, what are your manners? The novel of manners. And then you have the detective novel. The detective novel. The detective novel. You have the detective novel. D-E-T-E-C-T-I-V-E, the detective novel. D-E-T-E-C-I-T-V-E, the detective novel. The detective novel. Then you have the roman à clef. 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 You have roman à clef, which is French for novel with a key. Novel with a key. It is French for novel with a key. Novel with a key. That's French for novel with a key. Novel with a key. K-E-Y. Novel with a key. Then you have the Bildungs roman novel. 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 And then you have the proletarian novel. 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 Let us begin with the picaresque novel. The picaresque novel. The picaresque novel. Let us begin with the picaresque novel. We would first talk about the picaresque novel. Talk about the picaresque novel. The picaresque novel has a Spanish origin. The picaresque novel has a Spanish origin. The picaresque novel has a Spanish origin. So as from Spain, you have Spanish. Has a Spanish origin. S-P-A-N-N-I-S-H. Has a Spanish origin. It was brought into English literature during the Elizabethan period. It was brought to English literature. It was brought into English literature during the Elizabethan period. During the Elizabethan period. From Elizabeth, you have Elizabethan. Just add A-N to Elizabeth. You have Elizabethan period. The picaresque novel is noted for its episodic plot structure. It's noted for its episodic plot structure. That means it is organized as if it's in episodes. It's organized in episodes. It has episodic plot structure. The picaresque novel has an episodic plot structure. This means that different events are put together but are made to connect because they all have one central character. They all have one important character. This important character is called the Picaro. This important character is called the Picaro. The Picaro in Spanish. In Spanish, the Picaro means a rogue. A rogue. A notorious individual means a rogue. A notorious person. A villain. A villain, a highwayman. So that is where the novel gets its name, Picaresque. The story of a Picaro. Tells the story of a Picaro, a rogue, a highwayman, a villain. So in the novel, the Picaro is seen moving from place to place. In the novel, the Picaro is seen doing what? Moving from place to place. Getting himself into different troubles. getting himself into different troubles, and surviving by his wit, that's by his sense, street sense, all right, street wisdom. Surviving by his wit, W-I-T. Surviving by his wit, W-I-T. So we can say that the picaresque novel is an adventure novel. The picaresque novel is an adventure novel. The picaresque novel is full of adventures. And these adventures are the dangerous events that happen to the Picaro. These adventures are the near-death events that happen to the Picaro in the novel. So if you are asked about the picaresque novel, you can say that it's a novel of Spanish origin brought into English literature in the Renaissance during the Elizabethan era. It usually has episodic plot structure, and the plot is connected by the presence of one character, the central character, who is the Picaro, the rogue, the highwayman, the villain, who goes from place to place, getting himself into trouble and surviving by his wit. So this qualifies the novel as an adventure novel because it tells dangerous tales about the hero, the Picaro. So a good example of a picaresque novel is by Thomas Nash. A good example of the picaresque novel is by Thomas Nash. And the novel is entitled The Unfortunate Traveler. When you write the title of a text, you need to underline. And the title of the text must be written in capital initials. It's written in capital initials. The Unfortunate Traveler by Thomas Nash, an example of the picaresque novel. Let's just look at the epistolary novel. Epistolary novel is written in the form of a letter. That's why it is taken from the word epistle. Epistle means letter. Epistolary novel is written in the form of a letter. So the novel is in the form of a letter written by one character to another character. But we are made to look at the content of the letter, which is in literature form. A good example is Mariam Abbas' So Long a Letter. So Long a Letter by Mariam Abbas is an example of a epistolary novel. The novel begins with the expression "Dear Ramatulai," meaning that it gives that letter structure. Then we have the historical novel. The historical novel draws its material from history. The historical novel draws its material from history. This is why the novel is realistic, because it talks about historical events in a fictional way. The novel talks about historical events in a fictional way. That's why another name for historical novel is realistic novel. Literature normally should be based on imagination. But if that imagination is based on an actual story, then it is historical. What makes it imagination is that the history is recreated in the form of literature. So a good example of a historical novel is Chimamanda Adichie's Half of Yellow Sun, which is based on the Nigerian Civil War incident. A good example of the historical novel is Chimamanda Adichie's Half of a Yellow Sun, which is based on the Nigerian Civil War story or history. Daniel Defoe's Robinson Crusoe is also a historical novel. Also a historical novel because it dwells on historical events like colonialism and the slave trade. Daniel Defoe's Robinson Crusoe. Incidentally, I have an analysis on Robinson Crusoe on my website, so you can Google language and style in Daniel Defoe's Robinson Crusoe. If you Google language and style in Daniel Defoe's Robinson Crusoe, you should be able to see the article. So you read more on why the novel is a historical novel talking about slavery and colonialism. Then you have the sentimental novel. If you don't call it the sentimental novel, you can call it a psychological novel. If you don't call it sentimental novel, you can call it psychological novel. It was popular in the 17th century. The sentimental novel was popular in the 17th century. The sentimental novel was popular in the 17th century. Was popular in the 17th century. It's a novel about human character and human virtues. The novel about human character and human virtues. Human virtues such as chastity, the need for the lady to keep herself pure, chastity. Virtues like chastity, patience, waiting for the right time for things to happen, patience, honesty in human dealings. So in the sentimental novel, the characters usually find themselves in a moral dilemma. In the sentimental novel, the characters usually find themselves in a moral dilemma. What should I do? Should I do left or should I do right? The moral dilemma. In the sentimental novel, the characters usually find themselves in a moral dilemma. And it is only the ability to stick to what is right that will serve them and bring about their promotion in life. It's only the ability to stick to what is right and do what is right that will bring them promotion, elevation in life. It is only the character's ability to do what is right and stick to what is right that will lead to their elevation and promotion in life. This novel values emotions over reason. These novels value emotions over reason. So we are going to pause there for today. When we meet again, we will continue with other types of the novel. Good afternoon.